I can't do it.
Okay.
We'll do it live.
Okay.
Do it live! I'll write it and we'll do it live!
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 29 of the Sports Sensei's Unleashed. We are your host, the Snowman Brian Snow, and myself, Drew Willingham. Welcome back there, brother.
You know how excited I am for this one. No one expected us to last this long when we launched last year, and here we are, 29 wonderful episodes in. You make my heart and soul very happy, my brother. I love working with you. I love hosting the show with you. You mean the world to me, and I mean that not only on the air but off the air, because every time I see a message from you, it's either to get me going, it's either to put a foot in my rear end to get me going, and I appreciate you for that. Or it's a reminder of what we've been through the last 2 years with our near-death death experiences. So to say that I appreciate you would be a horrid understatement, my man. I love you. I love working with you. Now let's kick some butt. Let's go.
Well, thank you for the kind words there, Snowman. As you know, we both of us here are accomplishing some feats, especially with overcoming some battles. And 2 days ago, celebrated 90 days since everything went upside down. So, dropped 44 pounds in that time frame with getting out, getting a little bit more active,
Good.
eating right.
Good.
Filling like what you got there, filling this unit up with water, 40 ounces of water a couple times a day, and making sure I'm staying hydrated and flushed out. So yes,
Four of these a day, because my doctor said it's okay for me to drink 2 cups of coffee, but to flush it out with a lot of water. 4 of these, I think I drink 4 of these an episode.
I might have a little bit of juice here and there, but I've become more religious on water and just mainly watching what I'm putting in my body. Because as we talk about sports, they have to be, well disciplined with what they put in their bodies in order to perform. Yeah. And it's very similar with everything else that we do out here in these streets. We got to be able to be disciplined to do what we're doing right here. And speaking of that, we've got some great topics for today where we're going to discuss some things. And before we get into like baseball and like some more of like the more current stuff, talk a little bit about basketball and Joel Embiid's recent comments talking about, he is going to win an NBA championship, but also didn't deflect the fact that he may have to go elsewhere in order to accomplish that. What are your thoughts on that, my man?
Hit the road, Jack. And don't you come back no more. Philadelphia used you up, and now they're going to spit you out. Goodbye. Peace out. Later.
Yeah,
and he hasn't done much for Philadelphia. I mean, I hate saying that aloud, and a lot of Sixer fans are going to hate me saying that aloud, but speak ye the truth and shame the devil. In the form of a question, what has Joel Embiid done for Philadelphia to get them to that next level? I'll answer that. Not a dadgum thing. Not a thing. And it's bad for me to say it in that fashion. I know it is, but we keep it real here on Sartoba Media and Snowman Multimedia and all of our outlets therein. We keep it real here. And the real fact is, since Joel Embiid has been in Philadelphia, he's encountered two things: injury and mediocrity. Period.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And but he's made more of an impact to them than, let's say, the formerly Ben Simmons that was on the team.
I'm going to take this. I'm going to take this all the way. I'm going to take this all the way back. And the Sixers haven't had a great point guard since Allen Iverson and Maurice Cheeks before him, because everything runs through the point guard, and they wanted Ben Simmons to be their point guard. What the hell for? That's part one. Part two, Joel Embiid does not want to post people up. If he learned a post game, let me try that again. If he had a consistent post game, and note the key word I put in that sentence, consistent. If he had a consistent post game, do you know how many centers he would eat up in the Eastern Conference? About the only center that he wouldn't be able to eat up would be Nikola Jokic. Period.
Wow. Okay. I mean, if you put Joel Embiid on like the Lakers, he would make LeBust look like what AD has been struggling to help him look like.
Yeah, here's the problem.
What's that?
Here's the problem. Darvin Ham's the coach.
You don't believe in old Darvin?
Hell no. Matter of fact, Bullwinkle, answer that question for me, will you please? Dude, man, yeah, I'm going off the rails already. Does the snow
Hell to the no, to the no, 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 no. Hell no, no, to the no, no.
Period. Period. The only time I believed in Darvin Ham is when he used Anthony Davis to his advantage against Golden State, because Golden State didn't have an inside presence, which they will fix this coming season. After that, they run into Nikola Jokic, and Anthony Davis thought, okay, I can beat it from outside. Wrong. And for that, getting back on topic, which is a rarity for me, because I love talking sports no matter what it is. Joel Embiid will never win an NBA championship with Philadelphia or with anybody else until he gets it in his head that he needs to dominate inside. It's a question I've often asked online. Does Joel Embiid have the entire package? And people look over that question and they go to the stats. Two things that today's NBA fan are enamored with: stars and stats. Look at the impact. Has Joel Embiid had a real impact in Philadelphia?
Consistently, no. But he has had an impact. We can't like literally bash him. I feel like it's bad as we bash LeBron sometimes, because it's not, if one person can't make a team. So you have to have the rest of the pieces built around you in order to be successful. Because again, there are 5 people in the starting lineup. Right. So, it takes all 4 of those other people around you consistently to do good things in order to actually be successful. So I can't throw so much shade really on Joel Embiid as I can on like the front office in the coaching that's supposed to be more supportive for him, but really haven't.
Yeah, he's never really had the support. And the other thing that I mentioned, and I'm being very, very real, is his injuries rather. He's about as been as injury prone as Anthony Davis. Maybe not that bad, but at key times we don't see Joel Embiid on the floor. Maybe he'll make an impact with another team, but your best ability is availability, and he hasn't been available the last couple of years.
You're absolutely right. It's definitely the injury bug has definitely hit him, and it's definitely not helped him out in his favor with everything that he's had on and off the court going on for him. But the supporting cast that they've put around him, with trying to bring in James Harden, for trading away Ben Simmons, and the other slew of decisions they have made over the past few years, have really not been beneficial to him. Doc Rivers. And, Doc Rivers, who was looking really, really good as the coach in Boston for so many years. Then, of course, we already know what happened in L.A. Then comes to Philly.
Well, look at the talent he had in Boston. Look at the talent that he had in Boston, and what the deal that Danny Ainge was able to swing. to get him the talent that he needed and was able to run with for the better part of 6 years.
I mean, Ray Allen was like 145 years old, but he was still doing great things in Boston when he was with Doc Rivers and the Big Three.
Why did they say 145 years old, man? I mean,
I stole that from Kyle Nash.
Listen,
Kyle Nash said that recently. I kind of liked it.
It wasn't. He's not 100. He wasn't 145 years old. He was 245 years old. Will you get it right, please?
He was 245 years old when he played for the Miami Heat, Snowman. Or maybe he was just approaching 300.
Maybe he was 2.5. Maybe he was 200.5 years old when he played in Miami. Which is crazy because he was still doing his thing no matter how old he was or where he played. He was still doing his thing.
The Bronsexuals needed that old man in order to propel that Miami Heat team towards championship status.
Yep, and Ray Allen saved his bacon.
He did.
Right? Ray Allen saved his bacon. Kyrie Irving saved his bacon. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going off track here. I'm sorry. But Joel Embiid.
That's terrible.
Bingo.
Acknowledge me.
That's what LeBron's saying.
Oh, you know he is.
Yeah.
That's what TBS is saying. Acknowledge us.
We got to be careful because we may eventually turn this into a Bronsexual if we go too far off the rails. Bronsexual confession. But I'll save that.
I got news for you. That's going to happen one of these episodes. You know it is.
It may happen this one. We'll talk about Savannah James here in a little bit.
It's the summertime, and LeBron has nothing to do.
Well, except for train for yet another season that he announced, while he was on the ESPYs here recently. But at least we've established when it comes to old Joel Embiid that it's going to be, at least not happening in Philly for him.
Right.
And that it doesn't look like he's going to be faring any greater anywhere else.
No, he's not, because teams won't know how to use him.
No.
I mean, he's great. He's very talented. Don't get it twisted. Joel Embiid is very, very talented, but the right coach has not gotten in his head about being down low, about being in the low block more often than being outside shooting threes. I mean, let's bring it back to the old school. Joel Embiid, you got no business shooting threes. You got every piece of business dominating in the low block. Hello? Develop a hook shot and no one will stop you. A center I used to watch and love that developed a jump hook, but injuries curtailed his career, was Brad Daugherty. 7'1" out of North Carolina. Brad Daugherty had a good package. When he got to Cleveland, he developed a better package. Okay, he could post you up. He could run the floor. He had the outside shot if he needed it, but he didn't need it. They stuck Brad Daugherty in the post, and Brad Daugherty knew what to do. Joel Embiid doesn't know what to do. Big problem.
Yeah, it's like, that's his area where in his position you're supposed to be good at. Mm-hmm. Like, you are supposed to come into there with this mindset.
Let's get ready to rumble.
Mm-hmm. But you're not. You do not come in there ready to rumble. That's the biggest part of your position there at the center position, but you can't even make that happen.
Mm-hmm. You can't, and that's a big problem. That is a huge, huge problem. Well, I got to step away for a little bit of an extended break, so we're going to take a break right here. And when y'all get back, Drew's going to carry it for about 2.5 minutes, and then I'll be back because there's a little puppy here next to me, and there's Lucy is hanging around the door. So we'll take a break. Drew will carry it, and then I'll get back as fast as I can. We'll be back. This is the Sports Sensations Unleashed, episode number 29 on Snowman Multimedia and Sertoba Media. We're back in a few.
Now, I'm known as the guy who can fix just about anything, but The technology in most appliances requires very special training to fix, and that's why my family has Choice Home Warranty.
Choice Home Warranty covers over 25 major home systems and appliances. That's your AC, heating, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and so much more.
Call Choice Home Warranty now before something breaks down.
Get protection for your heating, AC, plumbing, kitchen and laundry appliances, and more.
Call 800-973-6121.
Here's an important message from the Diabetes Solution Center. Do you like pricking your fingers to test your blood sugar levels? No one does, but it's important to maintain your health. And now, by wearing a small remote device called a continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, you don't need to prick your fingers anymore. It's easy to use and helps you make more accurate diabetes treatment decisions. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now. And if you have Medicare or most major insurance coverage, you may be able to get a new CGM at little to no out-of-pocket cost. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurance company for you. If you are testing your blood sugar 3 or more times daily, injecting insulin, or using an insulin pump, call the Diabetes Solution Center right now to learn how to end the painful finger sticks and get your own continuous glucose monitor, or CGM, at little to no out-of-pocket cost.
IRS, open up.
The IRS is the most feared agency in the country and has the power to seize assets, garnish wages, and even put you in jail for back taxes and unfiled tax returns. Don't be a victim. Call Kick IRS right now and let us kick those IRS problems out of your life once and for all. Our powerful team of tax experts will fight hard for you and will not stop until we've resolved your tax problems on your terms. And if you qualify, we may even reduce or eliminate your tax debt altogether. No more sleepless nights wondering when the IRS is going to come after you. Take control of your tax problems today and make the phone call. We have an A rating with the Better Business Bureau, and we offer a 100% written guarantee, so there's nothing to lose and everything to gain. The consultation is free and the phone call is free. So pick up the phone right now and kick those IRS problems out of your life once and for all.
Call 800-807-8188. That's 800-807-8188. 800-807-8188.
Attention, first responders from across the country. If you were in New York to help during the 9/11 tragedy or during the 11 months afterward, and later developed any of these cancers or respiratory illnesses, you may be entitled to a substantial settlement. A $10 billion compensation fund is in place for 9/11 cancer victims. Do not wait to file your claim. Call now and speak with one of our attorneys. The call is confidential and free. Or reach us online at firstrespondersettlements.com.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a show that absolutely does not show any unbiased hatred towards LeBron James. We are the sports sensation Unleashed. Had to throw a little bit of fun out there on that one. Snowman will be back here shortly, as he said right before the break, as he is tending to a few things. But, you know, we'll talk about a few other things in sports before we get back with Snowman and talk about the main topics. And you know, for those of you out there who are Russell Wilson fans, those of you who loved watching him with the Seattle Seahawks, and now maybe not like watching him in Denver. Well, I think that's going to change because we've got Sean Payton now as the head coach in Denver. And, you know, it looks like things are going to be on the come up for the Denver Broncos and one Russell Wilson, who is from my area here in Virginia of Richmond. Now, when it comes to Russell Wilson and the things that he has done in the past that have been somewhat great, maybe carried by a great defense, but still part of some great things. And then with what he had last year in Denver, he's got some other things shaking up outside of the game of football. Now, you know that he is married to one Sierra, famous for the things that she's done. And they've got a store that they opened up in 2022, my apologies. 2022, they opened up this little store in Colorado, and it was in July of 2022, so it's like a year ago. And 1 year later, they're closing that store just to open up a pop-up shop at an airport. So you tell me, cost-cutting venture? Probably. Now, for those of you who are working a retail business, know that most of the time when you have a business and you don't own the building and you're renting it out, it's a year lease. And it's not like, like when you get an apartment or you rent a house and you sign a lease, and then after you do the whole year-long thing or 2-year-long thing, however long your lease states, it's month to month after that. No, when it comes to businesses, you sign a lease every single year. And I think that's what happened in this case with Russell Wilson and Sierra and the stores that they have, because they're not going out of business. They're just relocating from one area in Denver to another. So I figured that was some good news to throw out there while we were waiting on Snowman to get back. And
I'm here. I'm here. Time in.
And now that Snowman's back, let's shift it into football, but for a different way. And this one being the Tennessee Titans made the gamble of the offseason by signing DeAndre Hopkins. How do you feel about this one, Snowman?
Why? Just why? Because there's a very important question that the Tennessee Titans must ask, and they must ask it right now. Yes, you have your number one receiver after you foolishly let A.J. Brown go. The question is, who's going to throw to him? Who is going to throw? Who's the quarterback that's going to throw to DeAndre Hopkins?
Tannehill.
A fellow that has been a cancer in every locker room that he's been in. Every locker room that he's been in, he's divided it somehow. And then the situation in Arizona where you had Kyler Murray attempting to throw it to him, and I mentioned attempting because there was only one pass. There's only one pass that could sum up what happened. And that was the only time that Kyler Murray threw a pass correctly. And that was, of course, against Buffalo when you had the Murray miracle on a last second touchdown pass. So who's going to throw to him? And how is he going to act in the locker room? Next.
Now, when it comes to Tannehill, when they had Mariota there, would you rather have Tannehill starting in there or Mariota with the things he was doing with the decision-making behind the quarterback?
Marcus Mariota. I'll trust Marcus Mariota before I trust Ryan Tannehill.
Even with what happened in Atlanta this past season, with them benching him for the final, 4 games of the season to see what Desmond Ridder looked like, and then departing ways with Mariota, so now he can be a backup in Philadelphia?
I'll trust Marcus Mariota. His gifts are there. It's just he's just been injury prone, like a lot of quarterbacks have been lately. But come on, I'll trust Marcus Mariota.
Yeah, and I mean, there's validity to what you're saying there too, because when it comes to Ryan Tannehill, he only has had really one legit good season, and you got to look at the supporting cast that he had around him the year that he did that as well.
Yeah,
he still had A.J. Brown then. So, and we saw what A.J. Brown did now going to Philly. It's like certain retreads from Tennessee are now ended up in Philly. You got A.J.
Philadelphia. They are now in Philadelphia. Absolutely.
You got Phil. You got now Mariota there as the backup for Jalen Hurts, which you don't see Mariota getting much playing time this year. Knock on some wood over here and whatnot. It's like Jalen Hurts stays healthy, Mariota won't have a reason to come in, but
exactly,
it's an easy way for him to potentially get a ring if the Eagles play the way that they did this past year and improve on that. And they've made some improvements, and we haven't even discussed Jalen Carter yet.
Oh boy, have they made improvements. They took half of the Georgia team that won 2 national championships, and Georgia has 3-4 more lines so they can repeat as national champions again for a 3rd time, which I feel they're going to do. And the Eagles are loaded. How is it that 3 of the 4 teams that played in conference championships get better? Philadelphia, Kansas City, San Francisco. Tell me, think about it. All the pundits were saying this, and I took a look at all 3 rosters. Okay, especially the 2 Super Bowl participants, Kansas City and Philadelphia. How is it that 3 of the 4 conference championship participants get better after the draft? How?
Kansas City and Philadelphia, I'll give you that. But how are you going to pull your homer pick of the San Francisco 49ers? What did they do to really improve, Snowman?
How about an offensive lineman or 3? They addressed an issue. They weren't going to draft an offensive lineman just to draft an offensive lineman. You understand? They weren't going to do that. Think about it. Think about it. Think about how San Francisco has been over the years. They usually don't draft first rounders. And I mean that from the standpoint of just to be drafting first round picks, just to say we got a first round pick, we got a second round pick. Give you the best example. They needed a running back after Amos Lawrence left San Francisco, and they traded for Wendell Tyler in 1983. And then there was a fellow they drafted out of Nebraska by the name of Roger Craig, second round pick. Okay, you team him up with Tyler, they get Super Bowl 19. 3 years later, here comes Tom Rathman out of Nebraska. Two back-to-back Super Bowls, 23 and 24. And who knew about Tom Rathman before he got in that offense? No one knew or cared about Tom Rathman. It's the same with the Bears. You know, everyone knew the legend of Walter Payton when he was drafted in 1975. All right. 3 years later, here comes Matt Suhey. Who the hell is Matt Suhey? And they wound up being one of the best running back tandems in the 80s. You see what I mean? That's why I'm throwing my pick in there, because they've always operated second or third round and below and developed their teams that way. And Kyle Shanahan said, and so did John Lynch, we're not taking an offensive lineman just to take an offensive lineman, because we know with Mike McGlinchey heading out, Colton McKivitz taking his position. They lost Weston Richburg a few minutes ago, the free agent they signed from the Giants at center. They needed offensive linemen, and they signed 3 fantastic undrafted free agents. And I have a feeling they're all going to make the team. They needed offensive line depth because the first 7 games, that's what killed them. In losses they shouldn't have had to the Bears, and in loss they shouldn't have had to Atlanta. All right. And you mentioned this after the Atlanta game. You mentioned to me that the 49ers had no business losing by 2 touchdowns to Atlanta. And you asked me what was the first problem that I saw with this 49er team. Where did that go? Up front, offensive line. Offensive line was not clicking. They were not together, and they allowed sacks that they should not have allowed to 2 teams who defensively were not all the way there, especially in week 1 against Chicago.
Now, those sudden comparisons that you threw in there, you know, when it comes to the past decisions that were made, when it comes to the transactions they made to improve the team, you know, 30, 40 years ago, I'm with you on that. But where do you get these current transactions? How do you compare them to ones like Roger Craig and others? Because that's the divide that I'm seeing there. I'm not really quite following you on that.
It's in terms of where they draft. 2nd, 3rd, 4th round. Okay. Montana was a 3rd round pick. Not many people remember that. Montana was a 3rd round pick. All right. Diamonds in the I tie this all in by saying diamonds in the rough. That's what they are. That's what all these the players I'm telling you are diamonds in the rough, reclaim projects. Steve Young. Okay. The only first round pick of that era, of that 49ers era, was Jerry Rice. And they traded up to get him. They traded up to draft Jerry Rice. His running mate, John Taylor, 1 year later, 4th round pick. I'm talking, I make this comparison from the standpoint of where they draft. 2nd round, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, last pick of the draft, 7th round. That's the comparison I am making from the dynasty era to now. And that's where they draft and where they find these gems. Because Jesse Sapolo, one of the greatest offensive linemen that ever played the game, was a 3rd round pick, I believe, out of Hawaii. That's the tie-in I'm making.
There's validity to what you're saying there too, and I'm picking up and throwing down now, but I just can't help to wonder how much of a genius this overall franchise history could be had they drafted one Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II in those later rounds, like they are talking about all these people that you just brought up.
Listen,
had they drafted the hometown kid, you might be swimming in Super Bowls even more than you are now. So no, man.
We're going to be swimming in Super Bowls with Brock Purdy. We're fine. we made a mistake in not drafting whoever the hell you just said. But hey, the greatest quarterback. Hey, we already had the 2 greatest quarterbacks to ever play the game carry our era for 25 years. Okay, we're good.
Snowman
We
was
made
hard.
we made so many mistakes. Yes, we made so many mistakes. Not drafting Aaron Rodgers, not drafting Tom Brady, but who in the bloody hell cares? All right. What are the Patriots going through right now? What are the Buccaneers going through right now? What are the Packers going through right now? I'd rather trust a quarterback that can get your team consistently to and through the playoffs. Okay, which Tom Brady did. Don't get it twisted, which Tom Brady did. Okay, but we made mistakes. I admit that aloud. We made mistakes. We passed on quarterbacks we shouldn't have passed on. But that sin has been forgiven with what we have in our quarterback room right now. And I'm telling you right now, should Brock Purdy not be ready for week 1, Sam Darnold will get the ball. And Sam Darnold has something now that he didn't have with the Jets and he never had with Carolina. Weapons. Lots of them.
Snowman, since July last year, we've done now 29 episodes of this. We've done, between that, the Snowman in the Morning Plus, and the Snowman in the Morning Appearance, and my show, we've done almost 50 episodes together, okay? So when you think about that, I still can't get over the fact that you still keep saying throughout several of these episodes that Steve Young is better than Tom Brady.
Hell yeah, I said that. Hell yeah, I said that.
Now, his Super Bowl performance was legendary. The one Super Bowl that he did play in with Steve Young, he did have a legendary appearance in that 94 Super Bowl.
Listen, Tom Brady's the most Tom Brady, and we're going to have this argument to the end of time. Listen, this is fun. This is us picking on each other. This is just having fun because I wrote that one night while I was half asleep. That's my story, and I'm sticking to it. And Drew had a ton of messages for me the next day with the same, and I could hear his voice like he has right now in my head going, "How can you say Steve Young is better than Tom Brady?" And when my alarm went off, when my wife's alarm went off the next morning, and I read that, and I knew Drew was waiting for a response for me. Jody looked at me and said, "Uh-oh. What did you say now?"
I said, I'm with you on the LeBron hate. But
right.
not
Jody knows me. Jody knows me. Jody knows I love raising hell when it comes to sports. Y'all pick up on it. I'm just having fun with it. And that's what we do. She said, "What did you say now? And who did it involve?" I looked over at her and I said, "Tom Brady." And she just dropped her head and goes, "Oh no. What'd you say about Tom Brady?" And I showed her that. And she starts laughing. And she says, you want people to cuss you out, don't you?" I'm just having fun with one. And she knows it. She knows I pick on people and people pick at me just to have fun with it. I'm not ever downing Tom Brady and what he's accomplished, because to win 6 Super Bowls says something, okay? And to go to 10 says a lot, okay? 7. Thank you. That says so much. I'm not down in Tom Brady. Don't get it twisted. I just have fun with it, okay? If there's when it comes to the greatest quarterback of all time, since I've been watching football in 1980, if you want a 1 and 1A, 1 War 12, that's Tom Brady, 1 War 16, that's Joe Montana. Those are my true feelings. The people just make it fun for me to argue with them, and they know this is a fun argument. This is an argument that'll last until the end of time. But who's going to throw to DeAndre Hopkins? That's my question.
Hey, I'll figure that out in a second. But what just made my day, and you guys listening into this on WQEE 99.1 and watching live, okay?
Yes.
You just heard it, and I just saw it with my own 4 eyes. And listen to it. Snowman admitted that Tom Brady is 1A and Joe Montana is 1B. He just admitted it.
Look, I said 1 and 1A.
You said it in that order, and I accepted it as that.
I
It is
said
recorded
1 and
live
1A.
on the interwebs.
I said 1 and 1A. All right, you can flip whoever's 1 and 1A between those two.
We're going to turn this part into a commercial because you definitely said 1A, and you got Tom Brady first and hit Joe Montana. You listed it correctly. I'm proud of you.
That ain't you know what? Then I'm going to take that back. That ain't a correct.
Don't take it back.
I take it back. Okay. What I said was, if you have 1 and 1A, you got Brady and Montana, and that's an argument that's going to last until the end of time because of what they've done for the game, what they've given to the game, and their accomplishments are off the chart. But once and for all, I love you, Tom Brady. I do. But whatever Tom Brady did, Montana did first. And from the standpoint of winning 3 Super Bowl MVPs, who was the first to do it? It was Montana. January 28th, 1990 in the Superdome. I better take a sip before I keep going.
Well, when it comes to that, and you mentioned Joe Montana getting those 3.
Mm-hmm.
You got to look at old Thomas Edward Patrick Brady II because he has 2 more.
True.
He has 5.
Yeah.
So, again, like you said, this could be debated until the ages of time in certain aspects. There's certain elements of it. Certain elements you can't really argue. Certain elements you can.
Right.
But for this topic that we have here, when it comes to the Tennessee Titans, it was a gamble because you're paying him a decent amount of money for a 1-year rental. You're also bringing him in after you've already had minicamp. You're about to start training camp here in a couple of weeks because training camp is right around the corner, as you know.
Yeah.
Snowman, announced to us the other day that he has gotten accepted into Indianapolis Colts training camp, which is congratulations to him. I just applied for training camp for the Washington Commanders this past Friday, so fingers crossed for me.
Yep, go get him, boy. Go get him, man.
It's not my first rodeo. I've done it 2 times before, but this will be my first time with a different company, so definitely fingers crossed. But we're having some banter back and forth, so it's looking pretty good. But anyway, when it comes to this right here, you bring in DeAndre Hopkins after you've had minicamp. So he's already been cheated because during minicamp, you get the first look really of the playbook. You get the first look of going through the motions, even though they're pretty much just walkthroughs in minicamp. You're still getting through the motions of what these certain plays, learning the terminology. You're now I'd say a month and a half, 2 months behind the ball here.
Right.
So,
right.
Unless Tennessee made this move because the type of offense that they have, he's familiar with his time in Houston, probably not with his time in Arizona, but maybe they might be running a similar offense to what he had in Houston. And if that's the case, because he did shine in certain moments there, I would have to say that it would be an okay gamble, but I don't have a good feeling about this. You don't even have anybody, what their backup is Malik Willis?
Yeah.
Or whatnot.
And they won't even give him the ball.
They won't even give him the ball.
They won't even give Malik Willis the ball.
And we don't even know, he did great in college, but we really don't even know what to expect from Malik Willis because we haven't even seen him that much in preseason either, or seen enough of him, the type of production for us to say otherwise. But let us know here in the comments how you feel about that, guys. We're going to go ahead and take another commercial break, and when we come back, we'll talk about the best sports moments in history for this entire week in history through July 17th to July 21st in all of sports history. We'll see you guys back here in just a couple minutes on the Sports Senseis Unleashed.
How would you like to get high-speed internet for your home for less than $2 a day? That's right. For about $50 a month, you'll get lightning fast internet. Are you paying less than $50 a month right now for your internet? Then call Whole Home Connect right now for blazing fast internet at $50 a month with no price increases, no hidden fees, no contracts, no equipment fees. It's a great deal. And guess what? You can try it for 15 days. If you don't like it, you get your money back, but you're gonna love it, and you're gonna love the price. Internet for your home for $50 a month. That's less than $2 a day. Plus, no contracts, no equipment fees, and our 15-day guarantee. Call now.
Call 866-314-8900. That's 866-314-8900. Again, 866-314-8900.
If you're the kind of person that likes to drive a lot and your car is a little bit older and out of the normal warranty, keep listening. What's going on underneath the hood of your car? If your car is out of warranty, you're at risk of expensive repair bills. Now, for a couple of dollars a day, you can get an extended protection plan for your car. Hey, you love your car, so why not give it a little extra care? And make sure if something goes wrong, your bank account is safe. Literally, for a couple of dollars a day, you can give yourself peace of mind that you purchased a top-tier vehicle repair coverage plan. Call the Auto Protection Network right now and ask how you could save an additional $500 on your policy.
Call 877-845-0463. Call now.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to a show that has fewer commercials than an NBA on NBC broadcast. The Sports Senseis Unleashed with Sensei Drew and Sensei Snow. And I got a little visitor here.
We have a kitty.
Yep, I got Winnie. Winnie hopped up on my desk during the break.
Winnie wants to do some announcing and talk some sports.
Winnie wants to talk some sports with us.
Well, before we get into our sports history, Snowman, I have a Bronsexual confession.
In a world where partial greatness is celebrated and total greatness is shunned, there stands to be a figure on the lips of those who love him and those who hate him. The inane comparisons to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant continue and has existed since 2003. There is no end in sight, for the battle between those who unconditionally love and unconditionally hate him wages on. These are their stories. Welcome to the Bronsexual Confessions.
Snowman, I have a Bronsexual confession, and it stems from last week's ESPY Awards.
Oh, dear.
Now, we all know the James family is very tight-knit gang, and they're very supportive of their members of their family, which is great. And I'll give you that. When it comes to being people out here in these streets and displaying what a family should be like, I'll give you that. But you took it a little bit too far, Savannah James. You just had to stand up there and acknowledge Yo Kang. You had to stand up there and in your opening monologue to introduce Yo Kang to the stage, you had the audacity to mention the words, the GOAT. Now, Snowman has said it on several occasions. I've said it. There's been several people out here on the interwebs who are not saying it in toxic manners, but they're saying it in ways that usually the GOAT doesn't have to stand up there and acknowledge that he is the GOAT, or have spokespeople standing up there talking on his behalf to make you feel, to brainwash you into thinking that he's the GOAT.
Or say it during your supposed podcast.
Exactly. So if you have to force feed your thoughts that you are the greatest of all time to others to convince them that you are the greatest of all time with words rather than with actions that are on NBA replay for 20 years of history. Because if you were the greatest of all time, there would now be 20 years of footage for us to go back and look and acknowledge that you are the greatest of all time. Now,
absolutely. And
I'll throw you some shade. Actually, absolutely, Snowman. I'll throw you some shade. No, not anywhere close to what my man Snowman does. I at least acknowledge that you deserve to be in the top 10 all time. Snowman has you at like 217. Okay.
Yep.
But when it comes to his prediction and my prediction, they may be a bit off. I'll at least give you the top 10 nod, but you will never. And I repeat, and you could play for 5 more seasons and have the best seasons that you've ever had. And I still will not call you the greatest of all time. Snowman, what are your thoughts on this whole ESPY situation?
Get out of my face, you thirsty hooker whores.
You're fired.
Let's do that again, and I'll add this in front of it. Savannah James as a spokesperson.
You're fired.
Get out of my face, you thirsty hooker whores.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Thank you, Bruce Willis.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right, now before we get on to the next subject,
Let me talk to you.
absolutely, let me talk to you because you guys have got to put a little bit more thought into what you're going to say for monologues when it comes to the ESPYs. One of the largest shows, sports award shows. It's up there with the Academy Awards for sports because people are watching this stuff live on ESPN.
Yep.
You guys have got to get this together. And Savannah James, you need to.
You should know your role and shut your mouth.
Because you are Yo Kang's wife, not a spokesperson like the Snowman said.
And I close the Bronsexual confession one more time by saying, and I need the Vince McMahon clip, Savannah James as a spokesperson.
You're fired.
In a world where partial greatness is celebrated and total greatness is shunned, there stands to be a figure on the lips of those who love him and those who hate him. The inane comparisons to Michael Jordan and Kobe Bryant continue and has existed since 2003. There is no end in sight, for the battle between those who unconditionally love and unconditionally hate him wages on. These are their stories. Welcome to the Bronsexual Confessions.
I had to, Snowman. I had to turn that into a Bronsexual.
Hey, listen, I got no qualms with that.
Well, guys,
I have no qualms with that.
We have about 12, 13 minutes left before we have to worry about getting to the outro. So before we get into our closing thoughts, Snowman, this is what I wanted to talk about today as we've got, several moments throughout July 17th to July 21st in all of sports history, not just any particular date, but because, I kind of want to shift this into like a weekly focus going forward. Cause our show on the air, on the radio isn't always played the same day or next day. It may take a couple of days. So this gives them more current event-esque type feel to certain days that we're talking about. And, I kind of want to start some things off with July 17th, which was this past Monday.
Yeah.
And, back on July 17th, in 1900, Christy Mathewson began his career losing to the Brooklyn Superbus. 1900.
The who? The Brooklyn.
That's the name of their team. I don't know what it says. Superbus. I don't know. Super BAS.
Yeah.
He began his career.
Hello.
Now, Snowman. 2 years later, in 1902, you had the Orioles forfeiting to St. Louis because they only had 5 players available to play. And because of that forfeit, the franchise had to forfeit themselves back to the American League.
Oh, I've seen that.
Yeah.
I've seen games forfeited for lack of play. What are you doing?
Now, one of the wildest Winnie's definitely about to pick up on this.
Listen, Winnie is Winnie, okay? Winnie is Winnie, okay? And she doesn't care if I'm working or not. I mean, I've had days where I'm knee deep in editing and she just pop like that, like this.
Now,
hey, knock it off.
Back in 1918 on July 17th, the Cubs beat the Phillies 2-1 in a 21-inning game that was dubbed the longest errorless game, as it went 21 innings, no errors in 1918.
Errors. Wow.
Back in 1925 on that date, Tris Speaker is the 5th to get 3,000 hits. And in 1922, Ty Cobb got 5 hits in the game for a record 4th time in a year. Now, out of all this stuff looking up, was there anything on these dates in particular that you saw that kind of rang a bell that you would like to share with the viewers there?
5 hits 4 times in the season. Incredible.
That one too.
So it's a rarity to see someone get 5 hits. It's an even more of a rarity that see someone get 5 hits multiple times in a season. There have been a couple times I've seen players get 6 hits. Thank you, Edgar Martinez, but not multiple times in a come back here.
Would you say that that was probably the most notable feat that happened on July 17th on this past Monday?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
I would say that would probably, in my opinion, be the second most, as on that date, Joe DiMaggio's 56-game hitting streak came to an end on July 17th. That's probably where I would shift things.
56 games.
Mm-hmm.
Incredible. 56 games. To get a hit in a game is incredible, but to get a hit in 56 consecutive games, that's something else.
And what was that show? It was like the ESPN did that show back in the day. It was like 10 years ago. It was on the 70s New York Yankees, where they had Reggie Jackson and Billy Martin, and it was a show. It was like a couple of episodes,
right?
But it was in the Bronx. I forget what was the actual name of the show. But also in 1978, on July 17th, you had Billy Martin and Reggie Jackson with the infamous clash in the dugout because Jackson refused to bunt, causing Martin to suspend him because he didn't want to bunt. That also happened.
You got the name in the chat. The Bronx is on fire.
The Bronx is on fire. Okay,
Bronx is on fire.
Thank you, Ryan McCarthy. I appreciate that. So yes,
we figured Ryan would know it. Ryan's a great historian.
Now, that's probably my most notable things for July 17th. Let's move into the Tuesday, July 18th. And when you go through and you look at everything that happened in sports history on July 18th, I mean, it all stems back to 1878 in Wimbledon tennis. Like, dude, I didn't realize that Wimbledon had been going on as long as it did. Like, I knew it was going on in the early 1900s, but I didn't know it's been going on for like 150 years almost.
Right.
That's ridiculous. But in Wimbledon, Frank Haddo makes his lone Wimbledon appearance and beats defending champion Spencer Gore to take the Wimbledon championship. His only appearance and wins. That's definitely probably the most notable tennis fact for July 18th. In 1912, the Chicago Cubs get 21 hits, but lose to the Philadelphia Phillies in 11 innings. How many times do you know a team that gets 21 hits
and loses
in 11 innings, Snowman?
I haven't seen it. I have not seen it.
Which goes to show you how much the game has changed in our lifetime compared to when that happened in 1912. In 1913, because we just talked about how on this date on the 17th, now on this date on the 18th, Christy Mathewson gives up a walk after 68 straight innings without doing so. Wow. MLB's Boston Braves start miracle move from last place to become World Series champs in 1914 was probably a big one for that era as well.
Right.
Along with Babe Ruth becoming the all-time home run leader in 1921 after achieving 139 home runs with the MLB record 575 feet home run to become the all-time king. And just imagine had he not hit 715 home runs, had he not hit and 500 and some more home runs, how much that feat wouldn't even matter today because of how much the game has changed since that point.
Yeah, the game has definitely changed. It has definitely changed.
Also on this date in 1927, Ty Cobb recorded his 4,000th career hit on July 18th. So when it comes to like all that stuff that happened on July 18th, I would probably say to me that would be the most notable ones that happened on July 18th.
Yeah.
July 19th, however, Babe Ruth in 1920 hits his 30th home run of the 1920 baseball season, breaking his own single-season record. He would attain 54 throughout that season, before breaking that record the next year when he finally hit 60 in 1921. So that was big for 1920's time. In 1936, on that date, on July 19th, 17-year-old Cleveland Indians future Baseball Hall of Fame pitcher Bob Feller makes his MLB debut in relief in a 9-5 loss to the Washington Senators at Griffith Stadium.
Yeah.
That was definitely big on July 19th as well. Going through and skimming through the stuff that happened on that date, those are probably the more notable ones. If you look at 1989, though, Cleveland Indians' Joe Carter has his 4th 3-homer game of that season on this date on July 19th.
Future World Series hero.
Yep. And speaking of someone who used to be a hero but was knocked down a few pegs, on that date, July 19th, in 1990, Pete Rose is sentenced to 5 months for tax evasion. In 1991, on July 19th, Cal Ripken Jr. plays his 1500th consecutive game. So
wow,
it's in 1991. That was another big one there that happened on July 19th. In 2009, Michael Phelps wins an ESPY award on this date, which you see what he did, for the whole water sports there.
Yeah.
For July 20th, I would say probably one of the bigger ones to look at would be the New York Yankees in 1941 beating the Detroit Tigers 12-6 in 17 innings was a big one there in that time frame. But the majority of things that happened on the date of July 20th, besides Mike Tyson being accused of raping Miss Black America contestant, July 17th.
A charge that never got validated, by the way.
Yep. And also on this date on July 20th in 1994, former NFL running back, broadcaster, and actor O.J. Simpson offers a $500,000 reward for evidence of ex-wife's killer.
Yep.
So in 2008, on that date as well, Tiger Woods wins an ESPY award. This time of the year, July 20th, 19 and 20th seemed to be fairly quiet. And then lastly, July 21st, in 1957, Althea Gibson becomes the first Black American to win a major U.S. tennis tournament, which was big in 1957. Althea Gibson was huge to tennis and for rights moving forward as things were shaping up here in the United States. How do you think about that one, Snowman?
Love it. Love it. And it occurred on what would wind up being my birthday, July 21st.
Absolutely. So that's definitely awesome right there. On your birthday as well, in 1973, Hank Aaron hits Philadelphia Phillies Ken Brett's fastball for his 700th home run in 1973.
Love it.
On your birthday. So
on my birthday.
That's definitely a big one. As far as other things that happened within Snowman's birthday as well, Wayne Gretzky signed a 2-year deal with the New York Rangers in 1996, which was a mistake.
Go on.
Yes, absolutely. Other than that, the Snowman's birthday was pretty quiet for the most part, unless you go back to 1896. Wimbledon women's tennis defending champion Charlotte Cooper beats Alice Simpson 6-2 and 6-3 to take Wimbledon. But those are pretty much the discussion of what happened in sports. Before we get on out of here, Snowman, what are your closing thoughts, my man, as we wrap up episode 29 of the Sports Senseis Unleashed?
Episode 29. Can you believe that? 29 episodes of many, many more. I'm just so blessed to be here because, as y'all know, 2 years ago, I was given a death sentence by Duke University Cancer Center, saying that the tumor I had was inoperable. But were it not for a beautiful lady named Jody Kay, who said, I'm not having it, I wouldn't be here. So, weren't for Sonia riding to the rescue in June of 21 when I had blood clots in both my lungs, and Jody riding to the rescue to help get better cancer treatment, I wouldn't be here. I would not be here, nor would I be celebrating my 51st birthday. I didn't think I would make it to, which is Friday. I didn't think I would make it to, I didn't think I'd make it to 50 after giving the death sentence, but Jody believed, she got me to believe, and my family believed, my daughter Cheyenne, my daughter Sonia, my son Dakota, my daughter Carmen, all my grandchildren said, you ain't giving up yet. In fact, my little niece, Jordan, gave me a card that said, don't ever give up. So, Jordan, I'm not. And like I said, I'm on the verge of turning 51. I'm here, and I'm here for the duration. Those are my closing thoughts.
Snowman is absolutely crushing it. We are doing our best out here to make it out here in these streets. Then, guys, you have watched now the 29th episode of the Sports Senseis Unleashed, and I'm happy that Snowman is still here rocking and rolling, as well as myself. We got some great things ahead. Next Tuesday will be episode 30 of the Sports Senseis Unleashed at 1:05 next week. Tonight, however, if you want to see me one more time before next week, episode 96 of the In or Out Sports Debate is tonight at 8:05 p.m. Eastern Time on Sartoba Media. And Brother Hugh Scott of the Wrestling Realm will be rejoining me as we have episode 96. We'll be talking some professional wrestling, a little bit of baseball, a little bit of football. And, of course, the shenanigans will be at 100 because you know and I know that I love to bring it, and especially when it comes to...
let's get ready to rumble!
Oh, boy. The shenanigans will be at an all-time. Oh, man. The shenanigans are going to be at an all-time high. Thank you, folks, so very, very much for tuning us in. I'm the Snowman with Sensei Drew. We love y'all, and we'll see y'all next week for episode 30 of the Sports Senseis Unleashed. God bless you all. We'll see you next week.
And as always, stay safe out here in these streets.